V told this story 100 times in my head, but this is the first time I'm saying it out loud. I guess it feels easier to talk about now that everyone else is gone. It happened on Halloween night, 1998, in the quiet town of Hayfield. Back then, Halloween wasn't the glossy, neon-lit thing it is now. It was simpler: kids in homemade costumes, the smell of candle wax and wet leaves, the kind of chill that sank into your bones. Every porch had a jack-o'-lantern burning, and the streets glowed orange and gold. That night, there were 4 of us: me, Evan, Marcy, who had a fascination for urban legends, Dylan, my best friend since kindergarten, and Lara, quiet, nervous, always clutching her coat tight like she knew something was coming. We weren't planning to trick or treat. We were 17, too old for that. Instead, we wanted to do something different. Something memorable. Marcy brought it up as we sat in her living room, the light of the jack-o'-lanterns flickering through the window. "Have you guys heard of the pumpkin ritual?" she asked, eyes gleaming like she'd just discovered buried treasure. Dylan rolled his eyes. "Sounds like one of those stupid stories you read in Fright Files." "No," she said. "It's real. Supposedly, if you carve a pumpkin after midnight and say the Hollow One's name, he shows up. You get a wish. But there's a catch." Lara shifted uneasily. "What kind of catch?" Marcy smirked. "That's the part no one agrees on. Some say he takes something in return. Others say he just stays." The room felt colder after she said that. By 11:30 p.m., we'd made up our minds. We'd walk to the old Whitmore house at the edge of town, abandoned for years, and try it. It was stupid. We knew it was stupid. But that was the point. We grabbed 4 pumpkins from Dylan's porch and packed candles, a lighter, and an old cassette recorder from my dad's toolbox. "For evidence," Dylan said. The walk there was almost fun. The air smelled of burning leaves, and the sound of distant laughter from trick-or-treaters echoed down the street. The moon hung low, round and pale, like a watchful eye. The Whitmore house stood behind a line of twisted oaks, half swallowed by fog. Its windows were black holes and the front door leaned off its hinges. "Perfect," Marcy whispered. Inside, dust floated in the air like ash. Our flashlights caught bits of old wallpaper peeling from the walls. A smell of rot lingered, damp wood, forgotten things. We settled in what must have been the living room. The fireplace was cold and cracked. Marcy spread out her supplies: a small knife for candles, a piece of paper covered in red ink, and a cassette labeled Hollow One, Ritual Steps. "I copied this from a message board," she explained. "It's supposed to guide the chant." Lara looked ready to bolt. "You can't be serious." But Marcy had already started. We carved our pumpkins by candlelight. The room glowed orange, shadows dancing like living things on the walls. "They're supposed to have hollow eyes," Marcy said, tracing the blade in a slow circle. "Completely round. So he can see through them." The sound of scraping knives against pumpkin flesh filled the room. When we were done, she lined them up in front of the fireplace and lit each one. 4 faces, grinning and hollow-eyed. She played the tape. A man's voice, grainy and low, began to speak. "If you seek the Hollow One, carve your fear into light. Let the wax burn slow. Let the flesh rot. Let the hollow smile remember you." It went on, strange words, something about opening the gate of gourd and flame. Then the voice said, "Now say his name together." Marcy looked at us. "Ready?" We hesitated, then spoke in unison. "Hollow One." The candles flickered. Dylan laughed. "Nothing's happening." But Lara pointed. "Wait." One of the pumpkin flames turned blue. The temperature dropped instantly. My breath fogged in front of me. The tape clicked off on its own. And then, from the corner of the room, something moved. It was faint, like the rustle of a coat, but every hair on my neck stood up. "Evan," Lara whispered. "Did you hear that?" I nodded. The pumpkins began to pulse. Their light dimmed and brightened like they were breathing. "It's probably just the wind," Dylan said, but his voice cracked. Then one of the jack-o'-lanterns, Marcy's, began to melt. The candle inside hissed and spat wax like blood. "Blow them out," I shouted. No one moved. Something was crawling along the wall, stretching taller than the light should have allowed. It looked like a shadow, except the shadow had eyes. 2 round, hollow eyes glowing faint orange like pumpkin fire. Lara screamed. Dylan kicked over a pumpkin, but it didn't matter. The flame kept burning even without the candle. I grabbed Marcy's hand and pulled her toward the door. The front door slammed shut on its own. Every candle went out. We were left in total darkness. And in that darkness I heard it, a voice like dry leaves being crushed underfoot. "One stays." When I woke up, it was morning. We were outside, lying in the dew-soaked grass. Marcy was gone. Her pumpkin, the one that melted, was sitting next to us. Its grin had changed. The smile was wider now. Too wide. Morning came gray and silent. The air smelled like frost and old smoke. I remember sitting up in the wet grass trying to understand why my throat burned, why my hands were sticky with wax, and why Marcy's pumpkin sat there, grinning at us with that new impossible smile. She has to be inside, Dylan said. Maybe she went back in. But Lara shook her head. The door was still locked. We went back anyway. Inside everything looked the same, only colder. The pumpkins we'd carved were shriveled now, candles drowned in hardened wax. The cassette recorder was lying on the floor, tape ripped out like someone had clawed at it. We called Marcy's name until our voices cracked. Nothing. The only thing we found was her jacket, folded neatly on the stairs, and on the wall above it, drawn in what looked like candle soot, 2 perfect round circles. Hollow eyes. Lara whispered, "He took her." I rewound what was left of the tape. The man's voice was gone. Instead there was breathing, slow, wet like air moving through rotten leaves. Then a whisper. 3 remain. I dropped it. Dylan tried to laugh but the sound came out wrong. Probably some kid messing with us. Maybe Marcy's hiding, trying to freak us out. But the sun was already setting again earlier than it should have, and the house's windows glowed faintly orange from the inside, though we'd blown out every candle. We agreed to meet again after dark. None of us could stand sitting at home pretending it didn't happen. I brought the recorder. Dylan brought a flashlight. Lara brought Marcy's jacket. We didn't talk much walking there. Every porch light in town seemed dimmer that night, like the whole town was holding its breath. The Whitmore house waited for us. Its door was open this time. Inside the pumpkins were gone. Every one of them. In their place the fireplace flickered with orange light. Dylan stepped forward. "There's someone here." The flames swelled and for a heartbeat, I saw a face in the fire, round hollow eyes and a slit smile stretching wide. Lara screamed. "He wants the pumpkins back," she said, trembling. "He's not done." The air turned heavy, syrup-thick with heat and rot. And then, Marcy's voice, soft and wrong, echoed from the upstairs landing. "You didn't finish the wish." We ran upstairs. The hallway was lined with old mirrors, warped and black-spotted. In each reflection, something was standing behind us, but when we turned, there was only air. At the end of the hall sat Marcy, or what looked like her, kneeling before a carved pumpkin we hadn't made. It was huge, almost as tall as her chest, its grin carved in jagged teeth. Its candle burned blue. "He offered me a wish," she said. "I wished we'd never be apart." Her eyes were empty hollows. Dylan lunged forward. "Marcy, stop this." She smiled, voice cracking. "He listens when you carve in his name." The flame in the pumpkin grew until it filled the hall with orange light. The walls rippled like melted wax. The mirrors showed not us but versions of us, faces stretched, smiles carved deep. Then the fire went out. When I opened my eyes, Dylan was gone. Only his flashlight remained, rolling slowly across the floor. Lara and I stumbled out into the yard. The fog was thicker now, glowing faintly orange from the inside like hundreds of jack-o'-lanterns burning in it. "We have to break the ritual," I said. "It started with 4 pumpkins. We destroy the last one." But when we turned toward the house, the front windows blinked. Light flared in each one, forming 4 glowing eyes. A voice, dry as dirt, whispered through the leaves. "1 stays. 3 burn." The ground beneath our feet shifted. Roots, thin, black and sharp, rose through the soil and wrapped around Lara's ankles. She screamed, but before I could reach her, she was dragged backward into the fog. The last thing I saw was her face, pale and terrified, before the earth swallowed her whole. I ran. I don't remember how long. When I finally stopped, I was back at my house. But the pumpkins on our porch were lit, every one of them, even the ones we hadn't carved. Their faces were the same. The hollow smile. Inside, the smell of candle wax and rot followed me. The recorder in my backpack began to play on its own. Marcy's voice whispered, "You can't break what's already carved." Then the man's voice from the first tape returned. "The hollow one remembers. Every year, when the wax runs low and the moon is round, one must carve again. It's been 26 years. Every Halloween I light 1 pumpkin. I don't carve it, I just set the candle inside and let it burn until dawn. If I don't, I hear them outside, Dylan laughing, Lara calling my name, Marcy humming that same tune from the tape. Sometimes I think about stopping. Maybe it's all in my head. Maybe nothing will happen. But then I remember that voice. 1 stays. And I know which one it meant. So if you're carving tonight, Don't make the eyes hollow. Don't say his name. And never, ever wish to be together forever. Because the hollow one listens. If you're still listening, be careful what you carve this Halloween. Some doors open only once and never close again. Some traditions aren't meant to return. Subscribe to Dew of Dread for stories whispered where the candlelight trembles.